First Watch with Sheriff Mark Daniels on KWCD Bisbee Sierra Vista, hosted by Public Information Officers Carol Kappas and Grady Butler. First Watch is brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
And welcome to your Friday. Grady Butler here, along with Carol Kappas and Sheriff Mark Daniels. Good morning.
Good morning, Cochise County.
Hello, everyone. I got to give a big shout out. Happy birthday, America. You got to say it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 4th of July was really fun. It was a great day, and you were all over the place, all over the county.
And the sheriff's office, let me just expand that thought, was all over the place. We participated in every parade there was in Cochise County. I mean, what were they? Douglas, Sunsites, Benson, Palominas, Bisbee. Am I missing one? I think I got them all. I think we got them all. But either way, every parade, there was a sheriff's office, vehicle and deputies and representation there to make sure that we support those communities. And I had the honor of doing the Palominas one and also Bisbee. And let me just say, it was so patriotic. It was just so embracing the kids, and we're throwing out sunglasses and the little squishy ball. What are those little balls now? You get the little bumps in them, you push.
Right, stress balls.
Stress balls, yes. And so we're throwing those out, and the kids loved them, especially the sunglasses.
You were handing them out. You weren't throwing them.
That's right. Or rolling them to the kids. I'm sorry. And somebody made that comment about, Carol said we can't throw things from the car. I said, no, but we can roll them from the car.
That's right.
So either way, it was just such a great event, and I want to thank all these communities for embracing the sheriff's office and just law enforcement in general. It was really nice.
And to everybody that put on a fireworks show, kudos.
Kudos to them, yes. And in fact, I went on the way back from Bisbee, getting out of there after lunch, stopped by the Sierra Vista Park and spent some time over there talking to people. And everybody was just very high-spirited yesterday, which for all the right reasons, and a lot of energy. Well, then the fireworks last night, went to the Sierra Vista fireworks last night. And I know I got to say this. I come into the town this morning and reading this last night. There's a lot of criticism about the fireworks show last night. Listen, and there's so much confusion. The city of Sierra Vista doesn't put on the fireworks show. I'm not saying they're not a partner with it, and I don't want to downplay that, because they do. They put a lot of resources to make sure it happens. But the Rotary Club of Sierra Vista puts that on. I want to give a big shout-out to the Rotarians here in this community that puts that on. And I was talking to Randy, and in fact, he's kind of the king coordinator, all that, but the Rotarians run the booth. They set up the park events. I mean, all that's the Rotarians, and they raised, I think it was like $50,000 to do that. And again, and I heard people complain the show had some issues, and maybe it did, but let's not ruin that. Let's not ruin all the good work, and because people are criticizing the city. It's not the city that puts on the fireworks; it's the Rotarians, and I applaud them for all the work they do and bringing some celebration to our community, along with all the other communities around the county that have a show, and whether that's the city or whoever puts that on.
Speaking of celebrations, we also had 46 years for Miss Lupita Murillo. She's a fixture in a lot of households. If you watch different news organizations, TV4 is where she spent her career, but she was just everywhere. So she had her celebration last Friday night.
She did, and she started in a border community in Texas, where she was raised, and then came here, 76, 78 or something? I mean, just an astonishing time. But she actually had, I think, 50 years total or something like that, Carol?
Right.
Total 50 years, 5 decades of her life that she spent with a microphone. She was very, very good at it. She was a friend of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office. Carol, you and her worked how many years together? I mean, your whole time.
Right.
I mean,
that's right.
Which is almost 40 years, too, even though you're still 28. You're doing
that's right.
good. You're
Thank
doing
you.
well. But it is. And Lupita, I mean, we recognize you went to the event. I got tied up. I didn't make the event. But let me just say this, Lupita, I know you're not listening to this, but maybe somebody will tell you. But we're going to miss you. She was legendary, and she left her reputation on that microphone. And we can all learn from her.
Yeah, the stories that they were telling were amazing. She just has so many of them. It could have been like a 2-week time period if everybody got a chance to get up and talk, but she did a really good job. So thank you for everything you do, Lupita, or did, and I'm sure you're still going to continue.
I'm just going to say, yeah, we will see Lupita again. I made a commentary. Well, you want to come volunteer with us?
She told me that.
Yeah, did she tell you that? Because she is. She's just she has such a legacy, and Channel 4 was blessed to have her for all those years. And I really appreciate Channel 4 KBOA in Tucson, because they actually spent the whole week recognizing her going out. I did a little presentation for her on the news. But again, I wish her well. I know she's going to spend time with family, well-deserved time with family. And people don't realize when you're working, and she was so engaged, traveling Southern Arizona and beyond, that you lose a lot of that. You do, and I know I do too. But she put her passion forward, so I wish her well, and hope she has a great retirement with her dad and all her family.
And you got to read to kids in Huachuca City. Tell us how that went.
It was, well, what's this program again, Carol?
It's the summer reading program put on by the Huachuca City Library, and they just picked different topics, and it was law enforcement was the topic on this past Monday, and I'm telling you, those kids are excited. Huachuca City, for a smaller community, they do an amazing job at outreach, and that was one of the things that they're doing.
Yes, and what was really good about that was, so I get that you called me a couple days before, say, hey, how do you say no to that? I mean, especially if my schedule was open that day. And so I went down there, went to the library, and pulled up at like 10 to 10, started at 10, and it says closed. Nobody's around, no cars. So I called Carol and Grady. I said, Carol, what are we doing? And because I'm thinking, man, did I miss something? Or there's no kids going to be here. And they did it at City Hall at the council chambers. So I went over there, and it was packed. There wasn't a chair left. I bet there was 40, 50 kids there. And I had to talk to them about their quiet voice because kids like to talk at that age. But long story short is that one of the Huachuca City officers was there. Their amateur officer was there. And it was great. I mean, I read a book called Officer Frank, Keeping You Safe. And Officer Frank was actually, I bought this from the National Police Officer Memorial in Washington, D.C. It's a book about an officer that died in the line of duty. But they did the book in memory of him. It's a fundraiser, and that's why I bought the book, to support our fallen heroes. And then that's the book I read to him. And then we gave him a bunch of trinkets at the end. But yeah, it was we gave him little junior deputy badges, and that's always, to me, I call that therapy, because it reminds you of what we really serve, and that's our future. It truly is our current, but also the future, and make sure our kids are embraced by law enforcement. So it was nice. Thank you for setting that up, Carol.
Did they have great questions for you?
Yeah, they always have. They had the most unique questions, and you have to detour those questions, otherwise you would never get through page one. Because why do you guys do this? Why do you have that? Why do you wear this? I mean, on and on. But they're kids, and that's what's great about them.
And a couple of things on the flip side of that, on sadder notes, I guess you would say, Benson has had some issues here with losing icons. So first of all, Paul Moncada, chief of police, passed away. He and his wife Dorothy, instrumental in being throughout Benson and doing so much for that community for so many years, and he just retired a couple years ago, and so sadly he's passed.
You know, that was the sad part. He spent from the 70s, he was the longest serving law enforcement in Cochise County. A lot of people don't realize that. He retired, I think it was about 2, maybe 3 years ago. 2 years, I think, at the most. He retired, and then I heard he became ill. I had talked to him once since he retired, and then passed away. His funeral will be Monday. I know my executive team and I will be heading up there Monday morning to Benson for his services to support the family and the community. I mean, because he was iconic up there, and he spent so many years, and it's just sad. It's just truly sad. But Paul, rest in peace, my friend. I mean, you served. Again, somebody left his reputation, a legend, on the line, and left it here for us all to share. So thank you for doing what you're doing, Paul, and what you did for law enforcement. But yeah, longest serving. But something else about him, he spent his whole career at one agency. Not many people do that, especially in today's world. So he spent almost 50 years at the same place. And so, again, rest in peace, and God bless his family.
And another Benson person that was associated with the sheriff's office, Kenny McMenemy, passed away, and his family were not looking for anything to be publicized or, put out there and just do a huge memorial, but he was with the sheriff's office for many, many years. He and his mother, Wanda McMenemy,
yes.
She was the voice of the sheriff's office, and you always recognized who she was based on that when she answered the phone.
Oh, Wanda Wanda was a undercover lieutenant up there. She ran that place.
That's right.
But Kenny and I worked together. Kenny and I were same age, and we worked together in a very private family. And his dad was the police chief in Benson. In fact, Paul took over after him, I believe it was, shortly after. And so George McMenemy was his dad, but Kenny passed away a few weeks ago, and his daughters and kids came into town, and I talked to his wife, and again, this was a shocker. We did not know this was even coming. He fell ill, and then passed away. Very private individual, very private family. I want to respect their wishes, but I had to at least give him a shout out for what he's done for this community, for the Cochise County Sheriff's Office, and all of us. And Kenny, again, a friend of mine. Rest in peace, my friend, and we're going to miss you on that one. And kind of reminder to all of us, enjoy every day, because you just never know. And but yeah, Kenny and I had a lot of shifts together up there in Benson, so yeah, I got to know him pretty well.
The Cochise County Sheriff's Charity Ride is coming up in November, and we've just kind of wrapped up all the applications to get our nonprofits. But Lolly Automotive has been a big part of this. In fact, you had Bob Santa Maria on a ride-along this week.
Right. So I wanted to give a shout-out to Sean and Kate Lawley. I mean, they've done so much for this community. And you see, again, people, I'm not being ill here, but criticize them on social media. And come out and just attack them, And I'm not saying they don't make mistakes. We make mistakes. I make mistakes. But they do so much. It's, when you see two top givers, SSVC and Lawley's, and I've had the opportunity over the years to get to know Sean and Kate very well. Kate and I served on the Boys and Girls Club board, and spent a lot of time doing stuff for kids and watching Kate's leadership and watching Sean intervene when we need to and help us when we need it. But it's a charity ride, the Cars for Kids, you name it. Lawley's is out there. And as you've read in the paper and heard, he is moving on. They're retiring, both of them. And so I wanted to give them a shout-out for all they've done. And I know there's going to be a goodbye party. I was just talking to some folks the other day about this, and I plan on attending that. And also Bob Santa Maria. Bob is the COO, Chief Operating Officer for Lawley's Automotive Group. And he had bought me during a charity ride on behalf of Lawley's and spent some time with me and the other day, and just thank you, Bob. Bob steers a lot of these decisions, too, and I want to make sure I give Bob a big shout-out, too, Bob Santa Maria, for all he does to make sure he's pro-law enforcement. And I hear the new owner, just put it out there, Teddy's his name, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but huge supporter of doing outreach programs, community, but also public safety. So we're looking forward to having the new owner in, too, and making sure we embrace him and give him a warm welcoming. But, yeah, he's a go-getter, so I've already extended a welcome to come out and ride with the Sheriff's Office, and I'm sure he'll be riding with Service PD and around the county, so we welcome him too.
And riders, you're going to have Ernie from Mule Mountain Pest Control also coming up this week. This is going to be fun. I think he's such a good guy.
Ernie Garcia, yeah, and so he won me during a charity ride too. It's what they do is on these nonprofits, they bid, then they get to ride with me, and then the funds, 100% of the funds go to help that cause. But so he called me the other day. He's gonna ride with me Thursday, and he wants to bring another person with him and kind of film a fun thing for Dancing Like the Stars. So it's gonna be a fun thing we're gonna put together and kind of promote riding with the sheriff. And but Ernie's a fun guy. He does a lot. Again, another Rotarian. If you're around, he's probably out there. Yes, I didn't see him yesterday at the July 4th festivities, but again, he's another guy that's always out there doing something for the community. So Ernie, I'm looking forward to the ride on Thursday if you're listening.
The Sierra Vista Police Department had a case this week where there was a man with a gun in Veterans Memorial Park that ran into a field, and then they had to go look for the gun. But we wanted to talk about, this situation with this person. He was suicidal, and then kind of go into our care team and what they do for Cochise County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, it's always a good reminder. We have a care team, which is a mental health responder team. They're not law enforcement, even though they fall under the umbrella of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office through a grant, through the Legacy Foundation, and we're looking to sustain that with some other outside funding coming in. But long story short is, and I'll relate this to a story. There's a guy the other day that called in that was causing a disturbance on the highway. So I got there first, and he was trying to fight people. I mean, some mental health challenges and just in distress. Let me just put it that way. So I got there. He recognized me. I didn't recognize him. He's been living in the fields, the deserts, where he can find a place to put his head. And he made a comment to me, and that was, "Sheriff, do me a favor, just take care of my family." Well, when people make comments like that, there's something deep. There's something deep. And I had enough respect from the days that him and I grew up our careers, I call it, where I was chasing him, probably arresting him, and he was not doing the right thing. But now he's at a point where life is just not good. So I called dispatch in the care team. Can you send me a rep from the care team? Within about 15, 20 minutes, I had a couple reps from the care team. They got there. They don't dress like cops. They're not cops. They're civilians with professional backgrounds to address mental health. They got there. I briefed them. I introduced them, the individual, to the care team, and they took it from there. And they got him placed up in a facility to help him to get himself hopefully some balance back in his life. And they called me and gave me an update on it. They don't share information with me about, hey, this is what we found out about. No, that's all confidential stuff. It's under the medical HIPAA. But what I care about is, did we get him off the streets, and did we find a place for him? And we did that. So, again, I was very excited about that. Our care team is out there, not just for public safety professionals, but also the public. Instead of having a law enforcement show up on an issue that we see it's escalating in the community, we have that care team show up and let them intervene. People are more amenable to address and talk to them than they are a law enforcement with a badge. Because obviously we enforce, that's our profession, not so much as do that social side of it, because we're not the experts in it, let's be real. So again, thank you to our care team. I know they helped out in this case too, and people ask, I think the question was, Grady, when we arrest somebody with mental health, what happens? Well, then the court intervenes, and then the court directs or orders for like a Rule 11, which means a competency, and that costs, just so people know. So if we have to get a Rule 11 under custody, they have to go, Pima County is the closest we go, and it's $40,000 to $50,000, whether they're there a day or 2 weeks. If we go to the state's resources out of Phoenix, it's $100,000 of Cochise County taxpayer money. So this care team, if we can get in there early before a crime is committed, it's best for the individual we're trying to address, but also those that have to pay those bills. So again, it's a grant-funded 100% program. It's not coming out of tax dollars right now. Thank you, Margaret, over at the Legacy Foundation, who's been a huge partner, and all our partners, from Jackie Clay with the schools, the kids, from our businesses, our public safety, police, fire, and EMS. This is just a great thing to have in a rural county, and it's rare. Let me say it's very rare. There's 4 of them with a licensed doctor on top of them. So we're pretty excited.
And also with this case with Sierra Vista and the suicidal subject, there's a layer in the jail that helps them as well with like a special watch.
That is. So if they do come in a mental health oversight, there's certain protocols and procedures. We just don't throw them in general population. And that's so, listen, we have restrictions, parameters, policies, and rules that we follow. And that's why we have separation and classifications within our jail, to make sure we don't put somebody that's vulnerable in that setting, because nothing good's going to happen. We're very careful about that, and that's why you don't see escalation within the detention center on that. Do things happen? Of course they do. We live in a human world. Things are going to happen, but we do everything we can to avoid those happenings. And but sadly, you know, you can have 10,000 positive events down there, which we do all the time. 1 negative, and boy, we get a headline. I mean, and I get it. I get social media. I get media, just general media. But trust me, I do all the good work, and that's why you hear me defend stuff like that.
And since we're talking about the jail, do you have any update for the jail district?
Yeah. So there was an appellate ruling that came back to the Superior Court here that's going to be addressed. I say this all the time. So they held in part, and you heard the one of argument about. Well, I'm not going to get deep into the case. Long story short, this is a legal matter. But let me just say this: I'm still confident. I have no issue. Things are still going as planned. We are on the plan to. We have a company that's looking at feasibility right now, where we build it, how many beds, all the things that we need to address. We can't stop progress because the majority voted, and they're going to say, "Well, not everybody gets to vote." Well, let the legal courts decide that. But I'm very confident. Confidence comes with hope. Hope comes with confidence. I'm very confident that this is going to go in the right direction. This is what the people wished upon. People can say it was a bad election. Well, let the legal side determine that. I'm not an election guy, and even though somebody on social media, well, the county administrator and the sheriff, they broke the election laws. Really? I don't remember ever running election laws. I don't remember having that authority. But again, if you want to listen to social media or you want to listen to the facts, I'll stay with the facts. And but I'm very confident and hopeful this will come in the right direction still. So we're moving forward, is what I'm saying.
And moving forward on the, again, border issues, I think that we have a really good opportunity coming up on the 11th with Pete Flores, the commissioner, that is going to come to Cochise County to visit with you and get a briefing on the border.
Yeah, Pete Flores, I met him in D.C. Beginning of the year. Beginning of the year, was it? Or into 23. Either way, I met him at a border meeting back east. And got the opportunity to spend a few minutes, and he asked me, hey, I'd like to come see your operation, Sheriff. So we're very, anytime we can showcase the successes of the men and women that wear a badge, state, local, and federal, let's do it. Let's do it. And maybe that will spark some kind of interest for change in Washington, D.C., and that's not to be ill, but it's real. So he's coming Thursday, going to spend a little time with us, I think an hour or 2 hours with us, and just show him the operation of our new border center, which we're hoping to open up here real soon. I know I've been saying that. It's on a soft opening, but we're getting very close. And so, but he's going to come down. So it's always an honor to have people come see the successes of the work we're doing. And overall, you got to figure it. This is a rural county that's helping with operations in 3 border states, New Mexico, California, and Arizona. Not many sheriffs in a rural county can say that, and I credit our team over there, Captain Williams and Jessica and everybody that's helped put this together. Grady, you work over there as one of our outreach folks, but again, so many dedicated people doing the right thing, so thank you, and that's all about making you safe here in Cochise County.
And another thing that you got to deal with this week was, we talked about lawsuits and the court system and adjudications, and there was something that came up, which they finalized, hopefully, with a prior employee of the Sheriff's Office, Chaplain Doug Packer, who, just did horrible things. And he was arrested by our agency. He was prosecuted, and he was convicted and sent to jail.
100%, and there was a appellate hearing on that. So Superior Court ruled in our favor. Negligence and liability come through knowledge, but you got to be able to support the knowledge. What you don't know is what you don't know, and I know it sounds so simple, but it's so damning if you do know, and if you don't, you don't. And in this case, we didn't. We were notified at 4:30 in the afternoon of an allegation of misconduct by our chaplain. By 10:30, 11. Right in that window, he was in custody. And that's after search warrants. That's after they did an amazing job to put him where he needs to be. I think we led the investigation. Service PD came out and assisted on that one. But, yeah, within, 8 hours, we had this guy in custody. I mean, wow, I think that's pretty impressive. But, again, and he's been held accountable. He's in prison. What do you get, 15 years or something like that? He's still in prison, and that's where he needs to be. He's directly responsible for these horrific acts. Well, the 2 inmates end up suing, and to include myself, about that we allowed this and we had knowledge of this. Well, it's easy to file a $35 lawsuit and say you know something, but you got to be able to prove it. The courts in Superior Court here said no, there is nothing here. Even on a circumstantial basis, the High Court said it'd be speculation at best. I didn't know anything about it, and my team knew nothing about it. Leadership knew nothing about it. And I'll just say this. I had some exterior ministerial folks call me and say, Sheriff, we even asked those inmates about, and this is nothing new to the case. The case attorneys know this. Even asked those girls why they didn't report this after this came to light. We didn't. And they called me and said, listen, you need 2 of us to testify. Here's 2 of right here. We know this. And again, that was already disclosed. But bottom line is this. The courts got it right, and I thank them for that. And I believe in our criminal justice system. Did it always get it right? No, they don't. Did I always agree with them? No. But majority of time, it's our system. It works. And I support it 100% for my 4 decades of public safety service. I believe in it. And I have confidence, just like I do with the jail district. I have confidence in it. If there's a mistake, there's a mistake, let's admit it, but in this case there was not. So this case, again, falls directly back on the predator, and that's our chaplain, who's being held accountable for that. So, and I want to make sure I put this out there. Thank you to the men and women at the detention center that, were accused of this, that were brought into this, that this is a drainer of energy on their mental health, on their ability to go out, because they think, wow, did I do something wrong? Well, they did not. They did everything right. And one individual who's been held accountable didn't. So that's not going to affect all of us. But I get and I got to say this, I feel bad for those 2 inmates. I really do. They didn't deserve that either. But once we found out about it, we jumped on it like grasshoppers, and we've made it right.
Well, Sheriff, what is your stop of the week this week?
Well, this is a fitness stop. So I had a car this week that went through a stop sign, took off really fast. I'm like, wow. And of course, our smugglers keep coming. I think you all know that. Our viewers this morning, or listeners this morning, know that too. I mean, and thank again for them for recognizing emergency equipment and getting off the road for their own safety. But so this car took off, and I'm like, wow, here we go. It was early in the morning. So I stopped the car and walked up, and she's wearing a fitness attire. And I'm like, the reason I'm stopping you is a stop sign, you're speeding. Yeah, I'm trying to get to yoga. And I just love it. I'm like, wow, you could be a commercial. You're a marketing for fitness. So I had to throw that one in there. There's enough stops I could talk about that didn't go that way, but this one I thought was just, it was innocent, and but how great that she wanted to get there and get in shape and, you know, make her healthier and stuff. But again, I thought it was a neat little stop to share with the public, and I hope she got there. I dressed the stop. I didn't give her a ticket. I'll just tell you, everybody. Would you write her? No, I did not write her. But she was going there to get in shape. So hope it all worked out well for her. But slow down, everybody. We've had some serious accidents. We just had a bad one on UTV. They're all off-road vehicles, ATVs, and it was juveniles, 2 juveniles, right?
2 juveniles, 14-year-old, 15-year-old. One had to be airlifted, broken leg, burns. That was in the northern part of the county. Yesterday, about 1 o'clock, 3-vehicle accident right at Colombo and Charleston, and 1 vehicle, actually, if you know the topography, Charleston Road, I don't know how it happened, but a car was on its side, and people were trapped in that car. How fast or what was the fulcrum to make that car, you know, actually flip? Who knows? But on a road like that, you just have to slow down, and please, please be careful.
If I'm not mistaken, Charleston is one of the most deadly, or is the most deadly road in Cochise County for fatalities. And because it's windy, people get a little sporty on that road, and then sadly, they drink alcohol, and then that's the impairment hits the factor, and it doesn't go well from that point on. So again, slow down, people. I mean, slow down, because we're seeing some pretty bad accidents lately, and those are tough, especially with our juveniles up north. Those kiddos up north that the deputies had to address. Those are tough. Those are challenge on the mind. So please be safe out there and slow down and enjoy life. And hopefully you're hearing us this morning and can do that.
And the safety message is about, you know, crashing. And because I've heard about a lot of crashes in our community, but also I've seen a little difference in people, the way they're driving. They seem a little more irritated lately.
They are. And I got to say this, turn your news off. Turn your news off. And I get it. I watch it too. But it's just, we become so complex. We become so absorbed in things that we have no control on. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about the republic and the democracy and all this and people voting. Please vote. If you know, vote. Elections coming out here. The ballots are coming out here real soon. But the reality is this. I mean, focus on what you control. Focus on those closest to you, and it'll be better.
Well, Sheriff Mark Daniels, we thank you for coming and talking to us today.
Thanks, Grady. Thanks, Carol. Everybody have a safe week. Talk to you next week.
And Carol, who do we have coming in next?
We have Steve Boyce.
First Watch on KWCD Country. It's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
Giving you an inside look to your sheriff's office. Let's go back to First Watch on KWCD.
And it's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative. I'm Grady Butler. With me is Carol Kappas and our next guest.
Welcome back, Cochise County, and thank you so much, Steve Boyce, Horse and Around Rescue.
Thank you very much for being here.
So you got a lot of stuff that you're going to be talking about today.
It's something I really don't like to talk about, but it's really critical. All of us have pets, and we if our pets outlive us and we die before the pets, we got to have a plan for them. And we just got into a situation where the people didn't have a plan. They had 6 dogs and 2 horses. He had dementia real bad and ended up dying the 6th of June, and the wife had MS. And she basically is an invalid. Their family picked her up and took her back to Connecticut, which is where they were from. And what I'm trying to say is you need a plan for your pets. Plan and plan, because if they outlive you, what's going to happen to them? So I just put some notes down here. Where will they go? Who will take care of them? What are their specific needs? Notice we got one of the dogs that we got from him had to have eye drops in one of his eyes because he had an allergic reaction to the sun. And so forth. The other thing is have a trusted person that you can trust that's going to take care of them. Because if you go, they're just there. And those pets trust you. You know, they trust you to give. I mean, they give their whole life to you. And it's just really, really hard to turn around and just see these animals kind of in condition. And how we got into the story was that they called us up, or Lori did, the wife called us up and said, because they'd had a horse from us and they'd had another horse of their own and they were waiting until the other horse died. And so they said, you need to come pick these horses up. We can't take care of them anymore. Well, they had somebody else that was taking care of them and they wanted to get rid of them because they were having some problems. And so we took the horses back. Little did we know how drastic their whole situation was. And then when we got into it a little bit, Lori calls up Teresa and says, can you come move my wheelchair over to the care center? And I went, what's going on, Teresa? So we started digging into this, and they had 6 dogs, 2 labs, 2 white German shepherds, and 2 French bulldogs. And there wasn't anybody there to take care of them. So we said, well, okay, we'll help them move. So we helped them move the wheelchair and some other stuff. They got Peter moved into the place. And Peter didn't want to leave his house at all. And so we got him in there, and so we thought, well, okay, so everything's fine. They said, well, we got somebody who'll take care of the dogs. They were assuming they were going to continue to live. Well, Peter passed away, and Lori basically is incapacitated because of MS. And so all of a sudden you have these animals. So we found a place for the 2 labs that he had in a sanctuary where they've got a big pool and a big water park and all that stuff. So labs love the water. And the French bulldogs, one of them was in the care of somebody else and it died, and the other one, one of the son-in-laws, took back to Connecticut. We have the 2 white German shepherds we still need a home for. We're not a dog rescue, but we do it. It's what was needed. And I think the biggest thing that I want to get to everybody is that we have a duty, for lack of another word, to our pets to take care of them, because that's why we got them. So I'm really upset with this, and yet at the same time go after it. Your trusted person to care for, make sure that it's somebody that you trust that will take care of them. The other thing is that you can't really, these are just some notes about it, but you can't put something in trust for your pet. In other words, this is to my dog John. Well, you can't do that. You can entrust it to a person who will take care of the dog, but you can't do it to the dog. I think the biggest thing is to do it before it's too late. And that's what's happened with this thing with Peter and Lori, is that, you know, Peter, when we first started the rescue, Peter was a practicing attorney in the county, and he, when we first started back in 2010, 2011, we got involved in this case from the state where they took these 3 horses away from this guy, and we had to go to court because the guy had already gotten the horses back once, and we were not going to let that happen because they were emaciated. And Peter, we went to Peter because he was down the road from where we had the rescue, and he said, sure, I'll come in. So it was kind of funny. We walked in there, and we're sitting in this court case waiting for the judge to get in there. The judge walked in, and Peter wasn't there. We were like, oh, shoot, what are we going to do? I don't know what to do. I've never been to court about these things. And all of a sudden, Peter came walking in, and you could just hear the whole courtroom go, they didn't have any idea Peter was coming to represent the horse rescue. It was so awesome. It really was. And he did a great job, and he really helped us. We got the horses taken away, and the guy ended up going to jail, and then he couldn't have a horse for a year, and there was a lot of really good things about it. So when all this stuff happened with Peter, I feel we were kind of indebted to him, and so it's gotten real crazy. I mean, I didn't know this about Peter, but Peter graduated from West Point. He was a captain in the 82nd Airborne. He was in the 101st as a commander for Rangers, and we found out last week that they're actually going to have a memorial service for him at West Point. And we didn't know any, I mean, he never brought anything up. He just quietly did his lawyer stuff and loved his horses and animals. But he didn't love them enough to plan for them.
And see, that's the thing. Even with someone who is brilliant like that,
Oh.
maybe didn't plan ahead. So the bottom line here is, please make sure that if you're doing pre-planning, which everyone should pre-plan, regardless of whether you have $1 or $1 million, you should pre-plan specifically for all of those eventualities, and that includes your animals. It's just
Absolutely.
very, very important. So it's a good point that you bring up, and I think that people need to start thinking about that now.
Yeah, think about it before it's too late, basically, is the biggest thing I could say. We also, in part of this deal, the family has asked us to help with the volunteers for selling their property down there, because Joe Lori's back east and they don't have any family out here. And so we're going to have an estate sale. They're coming out this weekend, the two of the family members, and we're going to sort through the stuff that they want. You know, like West Point wants his hat that he had at the military school, and they want some of his other things that he had, and it was really crazy. So there's all kinds of military stuff. I don't know how much is going to be left when the family gets done with it, but we're going to have an estate sale. The date tentatively is the 20th of August. It's 2 Saturdays from now. There's all kinds of stuff. There's horse stuff, a little horse stuff. Most of that is gone. Their house is for sale. It's got a 3-stall, big, huge barn. They've got a lap pool in it. They got all kinds of stuff in it. And so if you go to a website, Horses Around Rescue, HORSEN Around Rescue, there'll be updates on that when we get to that point.
All right. And we love what you do for our community because you obviously do the horse thing and you do things for kids, but this is a tale of going outside of that box and helping the community.
Oh, yeah. I've had lots of people go, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, I don't know.
You do what you do.
Yes,
ma'am.
That's what you do. And we appreciate what you do in our community as an individual and as Horse and Around Rescue. So thank you for that.
You're very, very welcome. And, you know, it's with people like you that are the voice of the radio and you that are the voice of the Sheriff's Department. It's because you guys do your job. I get a little bit of chance to help you guys. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, Steve Boyce, we thank you for coming and talking to us today.
You bet. Have a great day, Katie.
And Carol, how do they
you too,
get a
Carol.
hold of us at the Sheriff's Office?
Reach out at cochise.az.gov/sheriff. That'll take you to our webpage. We also have social media, and that's Cochise County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Mark J. Daniels, and give us a phone call, 520-432-9500. And as a side note, we put a lot of stuff on our social media for information with road closures and things that are happening. One of the comments that we got was, I don't have social media, but I do have a computer. So we've also now started putting those types of things on our webpage at cochise.az.gov/sheriff. Keep that bookmarked anytime you need some help. If we're a little bit behind and trying to get it everywhere, we try to catch up, and it's one of our goals and commitments to you, our community, to make sure we keep you informed the best way possible. So thank you again. If you need anything at all, reach out, 520-432-9500.
First Watch on KWCD Country. It's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
You've been listening to First Watch, brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative. Keep up to date. Follow the Cochise County Sheriff's Office on Facebook. And tune in next Friday, 7 a.m. for First Watch right here on KWCD.